I was 71 years old when my own daughter snatched the microphone from the MC and screamed into 800 faces at my birthday gala. "Mother, sit down. Nobody pays to hear a 71-year-old black woman cry with a violin anymore." Then her husband took my 1,892 Guadagnini, the one Isaac Stern handed me on this very stage, and smashed it against the marble floor like it was kindling. The crack still rings in my ears louder than any high C I ever played. Tonight the insurance company wired $4.8 million. Tonight the Regal Theater lights belong to me again, and in exactly 30 days, Carnegie Hall belongs to me one last time. You're about to watch a lifetime of swallowed pain turn into the sweetest, coldest revenge Chicago has ever heard. My name is Evelyn Harper. Most people call me Evie. For 53 years, I've made grown men weep with 4 strings and a bow. I've played for presidents. I've played for prisoners. I've stood on stages from Vienna to Tokyo, and every single time, I left a piece of my soul in the wood grain. But that night, March 7th, I wasn't thinking about Vienna or Tokyo. I was thinking about the little girl in Bronzeville who used to practice Vivaldi in a 1-bedroom apartment with roaches crawling up the wall behind her music stand. The Regal Theater was packed, chandeliers throwing gold light across marble floors, women in emerald gowns, men in tuxedos sharp enough to cut glass. This wasn't just my birthday party. This was 53 years of breaking every ceiling they said a black woman with a violin couldn't touch. My daughter Tamara was there, front row, wearing the diamond earrings I bought her when she signed her first record deal. The deal I made happened because nobody knew I owned 49% of Meridian Records through a shell company my late husband set up in 1987. Derek was next to her, my son-in-law, 6'3" of designer suits and empty charm. I should have seen it coming. The whispers, the side glances, the way Tamara stopped calling unless she needed money for studio time or a European tour. But mothers are fools for their daughters. We see what we want to see. The MC was introducing me. "Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who needs no introduction. The First Lady of Strings, the Queen of Classical Soul, Evelyn Harper." 800 people rose to their feet. The applause was thunder. I walked to the stage, my Guadagnini cradled like a newborn. That violin was worth more than most houses in Chicago. But the money didn't matter. It was the history. The hands that touched it before mine, the concerts it survived, the wars it outlived. Isaac Stern gave it to me in 1989, right here on this stage, after I became the first black woman to win the Tchaikovsky competition. He held my hands and said, "Evie, this instrument has been waiting for you. Don't let it wait anymore." I never did. I raised the bow. The room went silent, that kind of silence that feels holy. Then I heard heels clicking. Fast, angry. Tamara was walking toward the stage, Derek right behind her. My stomach dropped. Mothers know. We always know when something's wrong. Tonight the insurance company wired $4.8 million. Tonight the Regal Theater lights belong to me again, and in exactly 30 days, Carnegie Hall belongs to me one last time. She took the stairs 2 at a time. The MC tried to stop her, but she shoved past him like he was furniture. "Mother," she said. Her voice was ice. "Sit down." 800 people froze. Then she ripped the microphone from his hand. The room gasped. Someone screamed. I just stood there, my bow still raised, my heart cracking louder than any string ever could. Then Derek stepped forward. He smiled. That same smile he gave me when he asked for my blessing to marry Tamara. That same smile he wore when I co-signed his business loan for $80,000 he never paid back. Nobody pays to hear a 71-year-old black woman cry with a violin anymore. Your time is up. This theater? It's ours now. This legacy? We're taking it. You're done. No, I whispered. But he already had it. His fingers wrapped around the neck like it was a baseball bat. "Your time is up, Evie," he said. "Time to pass the torch." Then he raised it over his head and slammed it into the marble floor. The crowd didn't know whether to clap or cry. Most of them just sat there, stunned into silence. I fell to my knees, my hands reaching for pieces that would never fit back together. Tamara grabbed the microphone again. "This theater belongs to the next generation now. Clean out your dressing room by Monday, Mother. We're renovating." Then they walked off the stage, hand in hand, like they'd just conquered Rome. I fell to my knees, my hands reaching for pieces that would never fit back together. But I wasn't crying. Not yet. I was counting. The sound was apocalyptic. Wood splintering, strings snapping, history dying. Counting the 30 days until my Carnegie Hall encore, the one I booked 6 months ago and never told a soul about. I stood up, brushed the splinters off my gown, looked at the crowd. Then I smiled, because Tamara forgot one thing. One crucial, beautiful thing. Counting the years I spent building an empire they thought they could just take. Counting the legal documents they never read. Counting the insurance policy that listed that Guadagnini at $4.8 million. And in exactly 30 days, the world was about to remember why you never, ever underestimate a 71-year-old black woman who survived 53 years in a world that wanted her silent. The countdown started that night. Revenge is a symphony. And I was about to conduct a masterpiece. I'm Evelyn Rose Harper, Evie to those who once stood in line for my autograph. Concertmaster of the Chicago Symphony for 27 years, first black woman to ever hold that chair, and trust me, they made damn sure I knew it every single day. I still own the Regal Theater. My name is on the deed, has been since 1994. I was somebody. Not just somebody. I was the one they called when perfection wasn't good enough. When Yo-Yo Ma came through Chicago, he asked for me by name. When Itzhak Perlman needed a duet partner, his manager called my cell. But before we get to how I'm about to dismantle my daughter's entire existence piece by piece, you need to understand who I was before that violin shattered on the marble floor. The auditions were behind a screen. Blind auditions, they called them. So the old white men on the panel couldn't see my face when I played Paganini like my life depended on it. Because it did. I got the chair, second violin. They couldn't believe it when I stepped out from behind that screen. One of them actually said, "There must be some mistake." I walked into that symphony hall in 1976 when Richard Nixon was still trying to convince America he wasn't a crook. I was 23 years old, fresh from Juilliard, with a chip on my shoulder the size of Lake Michigan. I spent the next 11 years proving that over and over, every single day. Then in 1987, the concertmaster had a heart attack during Beethoven's Ninth, collapsed right there on stage, bow still in hand. They needed someone who could step in immediately. Someone who knew every piece in the repertoire backwards and forwards. They chose me. Not because they wanted to, because they had no choice. I became the first black woman concertmaster of a major American symphony orchestra. The press called it historic. The old guard called it affirmative action. I called it Tuesday and showed up for rehearsal. There wasn't. I played for 3 presidents. I played at the Kennedy Center. I played at the Sydney Opera House with my eyes closed and 8,000 people holding their breath. For 27 years, I led that orchestra. We toured 32 countries. We recorded 18 albums. We won 4 Grammys. I was untouchable. Then Tamara got pregnant at 29. She was already famous by then. Pop star, selling out arenas. Her face on billboards from Atlanta to Los Angeles. Voice like honey and fire. She called me from a hotel room in London at 3 a.m. my time. "Mom," she said, "I'm pregnant." I asked her if she was happy. She said she didn't know. Said the father was some producer she barely knew. Said her label was furious. Said her tour manager was already drafting a statement. Then she said the words that changed everything. "I can't do this, Mom. I can't be a mother and be this. I'm not built like you." 6 months later, she had a baby girl. Beautiful, perfect, 10 fingers, 10 toes, and my late husband's eyes. Tamara named her Simone, after Nina Simone. Then 3 weeks after that, Tamara left for a world tour. 18 months. 47 cities. She didn't ask me to take Simone. She just assumed. Dropped her off at my brownstone in Hyde Park with a nanny and a checkbook and said, "Mom, you're better at this than I ever could be." I was 53 years old, at the peak of my career. Had offers coming in from Tokyo, from Berlin, from Carnegie Hall. But I looked at that baby girl sleeping in my guest room and I knew, some choices aren't really choices. I called my manager, told him to cancel everything. The tours, the recordings, the guest performances, all of it. He thought I was having a breakdown. "Evie," he said, "you're about to conduct at Carnegie Hall. You can't just walk away." I said, "Watch me." I resigned from the Chicago Symphony 3 days later, gave them 60 days notice. The music world acted like I died. But I didn't die. I just chose differently. I raised Simone, changed diapers, attended parent-teacher conferences, learned to make braids on YouTube at 2 in the morning, taught her to read music before she could read words. Tamara would visit maybe twice a year, always between tours, always exhausted, always guilty. She'd hold Simone for 20 minutes, take some photos for Instagram, then hand her back to me like she was returning a rental car. Simone called me Mama, called Tamara by her first name. That should have told me everything I needed to know. Tamara would visit maybe twice a year, always between tours, always exhausted, always guilty. I poured my life into that building, into those kids, into Simone. And you want to know the truth? I didn't regret it, not for 1 second. Until 3 weeks ago when Simone graduated from Berkeley. Full scholarship, violin performance, following in my footsteps. Tamara showed up to the ceremony, first time she'd seen her daughter in 11 months, hugged her for the cameras, posted it with the caption, "So proud of my baby girl." And you want to know the truth? I didn't regret it. Not for 1 second. I poured my life into that building, into those kids, into Simone. I kept playing, but differently. Small venues, community centers, teaching master classes at Northwestern. I bought the Regal Theater in 1994 with the royalties from my symphony recordings. Turned it into a space for young black musicians who'd never get a shot otherwise. Simone smiled for the photo, then whispered to me, "She doesn't even know what school I went to, does she?" But you never think your own child will be the one holding the knife. And in 29 days, I'm going to teach her the most expensive lesson of her life. Because I didn't sacrifice 27 years of Carnegie Hall just to let her erase me like I never mattered. It started small, like all theft does. "Mom, we just need 1 more month on the theater rent. The album's about to drop and then we'll pay you back everything. Promise." That was 18 years ago. Derek's first promise. His first lie. I said yes because Tamara was my daughter, and you don't say no to your daughter when she's standing in your kitchen with tears in her eyes talking about her dreams. 1 month turned into 2, 2 turned into 6, 6 turned into I stopped counting. They moved into the penthouse above the Regal Theater in 2007. "Just temporarily, Mom, until we find our own place." Temporarily lasted 18 years. That penthouse was supposed to be my retirement sanctuary. 3,000 square feet overlooking Michigan Avenue, floor-to-ceiling windows. A music room with acoustics so perfect you could hear a pin drop in the next county. I designed it myself, picked every fixture, every paint color, every piece of crown molding. I was going to grow old there, practice my scales in the morning, watch the sun set over the city, maybe teach a few students, live quietly. Instead, I lived in my old brownstone in Hyde Park while they turned my penthouse into their personal palace. Derek renovated without asking, ripped out my music room and turned it into a home studio, painted over the soft cream walls I loved with gunmetal gray, installed a bar where my piano used to sit. Every time I visited, another piece of me was gone. The photos were the worst part. I had pictures on every wall, me with Isaac Stern, me at the White House, me holding baby Tamara after her first piano recital, me and my late husband dancing at our 30th anniversary. One by one, they disappeared. Replaced with platinum records, magazine covers, photos of Tamara and Derek at award shows. I asked about it once. Where did my pictures go? Tamara shrugged. We needed the wall space, Mom. Don't be so sentimental. Sentimental, like my entire life was clutter they needed to clear out. But I kept quiet. Because that's what mothers do. We swallow glass and call it love. The money was worse than the photos. Mom, can you cover the theater utilities this month? Cash flow is tight. Mom, the insurance payment is due. Can you handle it just this once? Mom, we need to upgrade the sound system. It's an investment. You'll get paid back. I never got paid back. My pension from the Chicago Symphony was $3,400 a month. My royalties from those old recordings added another $2,000. I had some savings, some investments my husband left me. Over 18 years, I gave them $473,000. I kept a ledger. Every single payment. Every promise to pay me back. Every excuse why they couldn't. The theater was supposed to pay for itself. I'd set it up that way. Community concerts, student showcases, wedding rentals, corporate events. But Derek took over the books in 2010, said he'd streamline operations. The money stopped making sense after that. Expenses went up, revenue went down. Every month he'd show me spreadsheets I didn't understand and tell me we were almost breaking even. Meanwhile, he drove a Mercedes. Tamara wore Gucci to the grocery store. Their vacations to Turks and Caicos got posted on Instagram like a middle finger to basic math. I should have fought back, should have hired an accountant, should have lawyered up. But they had Jazz, my granddaughter, Tamara's daughter, the little girl I raised from 3 weeks old. Every time I thought about making waves, I'd remember Jazz's face, how she'd look at me if I went to war with her mother, how I'd become the villain in her story instead of the grandmother who taught her to tie her shoes. So I stayed quiet, paid the bills, smiled at Thanksgiving. Derek knew it too. He'd bring Jazz with him when he needed money. She'd hug me and he'd say, "Evie, Jazz really wants to go to that music camp in Vermont. But it's $8,000 and we're just stretched so thin right now. How do you say no to that?" You don't. The worst part wasn't the money or the penthouse or the photos. It was the erasure. Jazz is 16 now, beautiful, talented, plays violin better than most professionals. Last year, she brought a friend over to the brownstone. The friend saw my old concert posters in the hallway, pictures of me at Carnegie Hall, me at the Kennedy Center. "Who's that?" the friend asked. Jazz looked right at my face on that poster and said, "That's just my grandma. She used to play music." Used to. Like I was a retired accountant. Like I hadn't spent 53 years being one of the greatest violinists this country ever produced. Tamara taught her that. Taught her to minimize me, to forget me, to treat me like I was part of the old furniture that came with the building. I kept my Guadagnini in its case after I stopped performing regularly. Took it out maybe twice a year. Oiled the wood, tightened the bow, played a few scales just to make sure my fingers still remembered. That violin was worth more than everything I'd given them combined. But I never sold it. Never even thought about it. It was my last piece of proof that I'd been somebody, that I'd mattered, that I wasn't just grandma who used to play music. I kept it like a loaded gun I never thought I'd fire. I kept it like a loaded gun I never thought I'd fire. The night Tamara screamed that nobody pays to hear a 71-year-old black woman anymore. The night Derek smashed my violin like it was garbage. The night they tried to take the last thing I had left. My legacy. Like I was a retired accountant. like I hadn't spent 53 years being one of the greatest violinists this country ever produced. Until the night they fired first. My legacy. The night Tamara screamed that nobody pays to hear a 71-year-old black woman anymore. The night Derek smashed my violin like it was garbage. The night they tried to take the last thing I had left. That's when I became the woman who'd spent 53 years learning exactly how to destroy someone with 4 strings and a bow. Tamara said it was a celebration, a tribute to my legacy, 71 years of life, 53 years of music. She sent the invitations on cream-colored cardstock with gold lettering, an evening with Evelyn Harper, living legend, First Lady of Strings. 800 people RSVP'd. Musicians I'd mentored, conductors I'd worked with, students who'd sat in my master classes, Chicago's elite who still remembered when I mattered. The Regal Theater looked like something out of a fairy tale that night. Chandeliers throwing diamond light across marble floors, white roses in crystal vases on every table, a red carpet leading to the stage where I'd performed 1,000 times. My stage, the one I bought with money I earned playing Brahms until my fingers bled. I wore navy blue, understated, elegant. My late husband always said I looked best in blue, brought out my eyes, he used to say. I had my Guadagnini in its case, the 1,892 masterpiece Isaac Stern gave me after I won the Tchaikovsky competition. The violin I'd insured for $4.8 million because it wasn't just an instrument, it was history. Derek met me at the stage door, smiled that game show host smile, kissed my cheek like we were family. "Looking beautiful, Evie," he said. "Tonight's going to be special." He wasn't lying. The MC started at 8 o'clock sharp, older gentleman, former music critic from the Tribune, voice like warm butter. Tamara said it was a celebration, a tribute to my legacy, 71 years of life, 53 years of music. The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. She broke barriers when barriers were made of concrete and rage. She played for presidents and prisoners. She turned 4 strings into prayers. The First Lady of Strings, the Queen of Classical Soul. Evelyn Rose Harper. 800 people stood. The applause was thunder. I walked toward the stage, my Guadagnini cradled in my arms like the child it was, my hands steady, my heart full. This was supposed to be my moment, my victory lap, my chance to show everyone I was still here, still relevant, still Evie. I climbed the stairs, felt the heat from the spotlight, heard the applause washing over me like baptism. She broke barriers when barriers were made of concrete and rage. She played for presidents and prisoners. She turned 4 strings into prayers. The First Lady of Strings, the Queen of Classical Soul. Evelyn Rose Harper. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather tonight to celebrate a woman who needs no introduction. I turned. Saw Tamara coming. Saw Derek behind her. Saw something in her face that made my stomach drop. I turned. Saw Tamara coming. Saw Derek behind her. Saw something in her face that made my stomach drop. She broke barriers when barriers were made of concrete and rage. She played for presidents and prisoners. She turned 4 strings into prayers. The First Lady of Strings, the Queen of Classical Soul. Evelyn Rose Harper. This was supposed to be my moment, my victory lap, my chance to show everyone I was still here, still relevant, still Evie. This was supposed to be my moment, my victory lap, my chance to show everyone I was still here, still relevant, still Evie. I froze, bow halfway raised, my brain trying to process what was happening. She broke barriers when barriers were made of concrete and rage. She played for presidents and prisoners. She turned 4 strings into prayers. The First Lady of Strings, the Queen of Classical Soul. Evelyn Rose Harper. Fast, angry, sharp against marble. This theater? It's ours now. This legacy? We're taking it. You're done, Mother. Finished. Over. Every word was a nail. Every syllable was a coffin. Then Derek stepped forward. That smile still on his face. That same smile I'd trusted for 18 years. He reached for my violin. "No," I whispered, but my voice was nothing. A ghost. Fast, angry, sharp against marble. He reached for my violin. He raised my Guadagnini over his head. That 1892 masterpiece, that piece of history, that last proof I'd ever mattered. And he slammed it into the marble floor. The sound was the end of the world. Wood splintering, strings snapping, the bridge cracking, the scroll breaking clean off. Every sacrifice I'd ever made, every dream I'd abandoned, every silent year of swallowing their disrespect. Gone, shattered, dead. I fell to my knees, my hands reaching for pieces that would never fit back together, my throat making sounds I didn't recognize. Tamara grabbed the microphone again. "This theater belongs to the next generation now. Clean out your dressing room by Monday, Mother. We're renovating." They walked off the stage, hand in hand, like conquerors, like heroes. The crowd didn't know what to do. Some people cried. Some people sat frozen. Some people started to leave. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I knelt there on that stage, holding splinters of wood that used to be worth $4.8 million. Holding pieces of my history. Holding proof that even the things we love most can be destroyed in seconds. Something inside me snapped that night, clean in half, like a bowstring pulled too tight. The old Evie would have cried, would have begged, would have asked Tamara why. But the old Evie died on that stage with her violin. The old Evie would have cried, would have begged, would have asked Tamara why. The old Evie would have cried, would have begged, would have asked Tamara why. The crowd didn't know what to do. Some people cried, some people sat frozen, some people started to leave, and I walked off that stage. Everyone thought it was the last time. They were wrong. I woke up at 5 in the morning. Didn't sleep much, maybe 2 hours. The kind of sleep where you're not sure if you're awake or dreaming or trapped somewhere in between. But when my eyes opened at 5:02 a.m., I wasn't crying anymore. They were wrong. I woke up at 5 in the morning. My phone had 47 missed calls, 31 text messages, people asking if I was okay, people saying they couldn't believe what happened, people offering sympathy I didn't want. I deleted every single one without reading them. Then I walked to my bedroom closet, pushed aside the winter coats I hadn't worn in years, moved the shoe boxes, found the small panel in the back wall that looked like regular wood, but wasn't. But when my eyes opened at 5:02 a.m., I wasn't crying anymore. Pressed the corner, it clicked open. My late husband installed it in 1991, said every woman needs a place to keep the things that matter, the things that could save her life if everything else burned down. Inside was a safe nobody knew existed. Not Tamara, not Derek, not even Jazz. One labeled insurance, one labeled property deeds, one labeled Meridian Records. Then I made 3 phone calls. I punched in the code. My wedding anniversary. Pulled out 3 file folders. He answered on the second ring. "Evie? I heard what happened. I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry, Richard. File the claim." Silence. Then, the violin? 4.8 million. Destroyed in front of 800 witnesses. I have video. I have photographs. I have the authentication papers in my hand right now. More silence. "Evie, are you sure you want to do this? Your daughter." File. The claim. He did. By noon, the paperwork was submitted. Total loss, malicious destruction, witnesses and documentation attached. The second call was to Patricia Moss, my lawyer. Harvard Law, meaner than a cornered wolverine when she needed to be. "Patricia," I said, "I need an eviction notice drafted and served today." "Who are we evicting?" "My daughter and her husband. From the Regal Theater penthouse, the property I own. That they've been living in rent-free for 18 years. Patricia didn't hesitate. Illinois law requires 30 days notice for eviction without cause, but if there's cause, There's cause. Destruction of property. Public humiliation. Hostile environment. Take your pick. I'll have it drafted in an hour. You want it served today? By 4 o'clock. She laughed. Not a happy laugh. A lawyer laugh. The kind that means someone's about to have a very bad day. Consider it done. The third call was the hardest. The most important. Maestra Lydia Park, conductor of the New York Philharmonic. My best friend for 43 years. The woman who stood next to me when they buried my husband. The only person in the music world who never asked me for money or favors or silence. She answered before the phone finished ringing. I saw the video, Evie. I'm on the next flight to Chicago. My throat tightened. You don't have to. Shut up, I'm already packing. But first, tell me what you need. I took a breath. Remember that Carnegie Hall slot we talked about 6 months ago? The one in 30 days? The benefit concert for the Young Musicians Fund? You backed out. Said you weren't performing anymore. I changed my mind. Silence. Then Lydia's voice, sharp as broken glass. What are you planning, Evie? Revenge. She laughed. A real laugh this time. About damn time. What do you need? The full orchestra, the best acoustics engineer in New York, and a press release that goes out to every major outlet in America. Done. Anything else? Sell it out. I want every seat filled. I want it to be the event of the season. Consider it sold. But Evie, what are you going to play? Your Guadagnini. Is Splinters. I know. I'll handle that part. By noon, the insurance claim was filed. $4.8 million in motion. Richard said it would take a few days to process, but the video evidence made it bulletproof. By 2 p.m., Patricia had the eviction notice drafted, legally airtight, 30 days to vacate the Regal Theater penthouse or face legal action and removal by the sheriff's department. By 4 p.m., a process server was knocking on the penthouse door. I wasn't there to see it, didn't want to be, but Patricia called me from her car across the street. Derek answered, she said. Read the first paragraph and started screaming. Tamara came to the door. She's calling you now. I looked at my phone, Tamara's name flashing on the screen. I didn't answer. Let it ring. Let it go to voicemail. Let her wonder. She called 6 more times that night, left 4 voicemails, each one angrier than the last. Mom, what the hell is this? You can't evict us. This is our home. Call me back right now. I'm your daughter. You can't do this to me. I listened to every voicemail once, then deleted them. I hadn't spoken a word to Tamara since she destroyed my violin, hadn't texted, hadn't acknowledged her existence, and I wasn't going to. Not yet. Silence is a weapon most people don't know how to use, but I'd spent 53 years mastering it, learning when to play and when to rest, when to speak and when to let the absence of sound say everything. Day 1 was complete, the insurance claim filed, the eviction notice served, Carnegie Hall booked. I had 29 days left, and I was just getting started. Day 3 after the violin shattered. I was sitting in my kitchen at 9 in the morning, drinking Darjeeling tea from the good china, when my phone rang. Unknown number, New York area code. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. Miss Harper? This is Brandon Marshall. I'm the CEO of Meridian Records. I knew who he was, had known for 37 years, since my late husband bought our first shares in his company when it was just 3 guys in a Brooklyn basement recording jazz albums. Good morning, Brandon. His voice was tight, panicked, the kind of panic that comes from watching your empire crumble in real time. Miss Harper, we have a serious problem. Our biggest investor just withdrew from the company, 49% equity stake, pulled out completely with 0 notice. Our legal team is scrambling and I took a sip of tea. Let him talk. The thing is, we just realized something. The shell company that owns those shares, Harper Investments LLC? That's you, isn't it? Silence. Miss Harper? Are you there? I'm here, Brandon. So it is you. You own 49% of Meridian Records. 49.2% actually. My husband was very precise about these things. More silence. I could hear him breathing, trying to process. Miss Harper, I don't understand. Why are you pulling out? We've had a 37-year relationship. We've been profitable every quarter. Your returns have been excellent. I set my teacup down, looked out the window at the maple tree in my backyard turning red and gold. Tell me, Brandon, do you know who your biggest artist is right now? Yes, Tamara Denise, your daughter. She's been with us for 19 years. Her new album drops in 6 weeks. Not anymore, it doesn't. The panic in his voice doubled. What do you mean? We've already invested $2.4 million in production. The marketing campaign launches next week. Pre-orders are through the roof. 49.2% actually. My husband was very precise about these things. So it is you. You own 49% of Meridian Records. So it is you. You own 49% of Meridian Records. Miss Harper, you've never invoked that clause. Not once in 37 years. Miss Harper, with all due respect, Tamara is your daughter. This seems personal. I heard papers shuffling. Someone talking in the background. Brandon's voice came back, quieter now. Silence. It is personal, Brandon. Very personal. She destroyed a $4.8 million violin on stage 3 days ago. My violin, in front of 800 witnesses. Then told me my time was up and tried to steal my theater. More silence. Then, Jesus Christ. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to freeze that album. You're going to recover every penny of her advance. $2.4 million in production costs. Another $800,000 she already spent. All of it. Miss Harper. And if you don't, I'll invoke Clause 52 and force a full audit of the company. I suspect I'll find some interesting accounting irregularities. That European tour you wrote off as a business expense in 2019, the one where you brought your mistress? I have photographs, Brandon. The line went dead quiet. Not even breathing. How do you? I assume you've seen the video. It's been viewed 3 million times on social media. Not exactly the kind of press Meridian wants associated with its biggest artist. My husband taught me to protect my investments. That includes knowing everything about the people who manage them. So, are we clear? Good. I'll expect confirmation by end of day. I hung up. 30 seconds later, my phone rang again. Different number, still New York. I answered. Hello? Crystal clear, Miss Harper. That the album is frozen. The advance is being clawed back, and if Tamara wants to fight it, she'll be fighting me. Yes, that's all correct. Mrs. Harper, this is Simone Wallace. I'm Tamara's manager. I just got off the phone with Meridian Records and they're saying, I don't care. Please, can we just talk about this? Maybe we can find a solution that works for everyone. I put the phone on speaker. Set it on the kitchen table. Poured myself another cup of tea. Simone's voice cracked. Mrs. Harper, I understand you're upset about what happened at the gala, but this is Tamara's career. This album is 2 years of work. The pre-orders alone are worth... I let her. Didn't interrupt. Didn't respond. Just sipped my tea and listened to her voice get more desperate with every sentence. After 5 minutes, she stopped. Realized I wasn't going to answer. Mrs. Harper? Are you still there? I picked up the phone, turned off speaker. I'm here, Simone. Will you please just tell me what you want? What will it take to make this right? I thought about that night. The crack of wood on marble, my daughter's voice screaming that nobody wanted to hear a 71-year-old black woman anymore. I want her to understand what it feels like when someone takes everything you've built and destroys it in public. I want her to know what powerlessness tastes like. I want her to learn that actions have consequences. Mrs. Harper, the album is dead, Simone. The deal is dead. Tell Tamara if she wants to discuss it. She knows where I live. but she better come ready to apologize for more than just the violin. I hung up. My phone rang 14 more times that day. Tamara, Derek, Simone, Brandon, lawyers, publicists. I didn't answer any of them. Simone kept talking, begging, explaining, offering compromises. Silence is the loudest sound in the world when you know how to wield it. And I'd had 53 years to practice. Day 10, the sheriff showed up at 9:47 a.m. I wasn't there, didn't need to be. Patricia called me from her car across the street and put me on speaker so I could hear everything. The knock was professional, firm, the kind of knock that means business. Derek answered. I heard his voice through the phone. Can I help you? Cook County Sheriff's Department. We're here to enforce a 30-day eviction notice for this property. You were served 10 days ago. This is your official 20-day warning. This is a mistake. We own this penthouse. The sheriff's voice didn't change. Flat. Factual. No, sir. According to county records, this property is owned by Evelyn Rose Harper. She's the legal owner and she's exercising her right to evict. You have 20 days to vacate or we'll return with a removal order. I heard Tamara's voice in the background. What's going on? Then she was at the door. I could picture her face. That specific kind of panic that comes when you realize you're not as powerful as you thought. You can't do this. This is our home. We've lived here for 18 years. Ma'am, the law doesn't care how long you've lived here. You were living here at the owner's discretion. That discretion has been revoked. 20 days. Tamara's voice got louder, sharper. This is harassment. This is elder abuse. My mother is doing this out of spite. The sheriff didn't bite. Ma'am, I'm just serving the notice. You have legal options if you want to dispute it, but as of today, you have 20 days. Then I heard something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Tamara started crying, not quiet crying, big, theatrical sobs, the kind she used to fake as a kid when she wanted something. She's punishing us because we tried to help her retire gracefully. She's 71 years old and she's lost her mind. Someone needs to check on her mental health. Patricia muted the call on her end so they couldn't hear her laughing. The sheriff left, the door slammed, and within 2 hours, Tamara posted a video on Instagram. I watched it from my kitchen. Jazz sent it to me with no comment, just the link. Tamara was sitting on the penthouse couch, tears streaming down her face. Derek next to her, hand on her shoulder, looking appropriately devastated. I never thought I'd have to say this publicly, she started, her voice breaking in all the right places. But my mother is going through something. We've tried to help her. We've tried to be there for her, but after what happened at her birthday, we're realizing she may not be well. Derek nodded, supportive husband, concerned son-in-law. She's trying to evict us from our home, the home we've lived in for almost 2 decades, the home where we raised our daughter, all because of family jealousy and bitterness. The comments started flooding in immediately. Support, sympathy, outrage on their behalf. Your mother is toxic. Family is supposed to support each other. This is so sad. Praying for you both. The video got 200,000 views in 3 hours. Chicago ate it up. The Tribune ran a story. Family feud. Music legend versus daughter in bitter property dispute. They interviewed neighbors, music industry people, everyone with an opinion and a microphone. For 48 hours, I was the villain, the bitter old woman who couldn't handle her daughter's success. Then Patricia released the deed. Cook County Public Records, filed in 1994. Evelyn Rose Harper, sole owner of the Regal Theater and all associated properties including the penthouse unit, clear as day, black ink on white paper, my name in bold. She sent it to every news outlet in Chicago, posted it on social media, made sure it was impossible to ignore. The narrative flipped overnight. Wait, she owns the building? They've been living rent-free for 18 years? She's not evicting them from their home. She's evicting them from her home. The Tribune ran a correction. A follow-up story. Interviews with legal experts who explain that property owners have every right to evict tenants, even if those tenants are family. Tamara's video got ratioed. The comments turned. People started asking questions she couldn't answer. She deleted the video 2 days later, but the internet never forgets. Screenshots lived forever. That same week, the insurance money landed. $4.8 million, tax-free. Direct deposit into my account at 3:14 p.m. on a Wednesday. I sat at my computer and watched the number appear. 8 digits, more money than I'd ever had at one time in my entire life. My destroyed Guadagnini converted into pure financial power. I didn't cry, didn't celebrate, just closed the laptop and thought about what came next. The first thing I bought was something I'd wanted for decades, but never let myself have. A concert gown, royal purple, custom-made, from a designer in Milan who'd dressed Renee Fleming and Anne-Sophie Mutter. I flew her to Chicago, had her measure me in my living room, told her exactly what I wanted. Floor length, long sleeves, high neck, elegant, but powerful. The kind of dress that makes you look like royalty when you walk on stage. The cost? $38,000. More than a year of Tamara and Derek's theoretical rent if they'd ever paid it. The designer didn't blink, just took my measurements and promised it would be ready in 2 weeks. "Miss Harper," she said as she packed up her measuring tape, "I saw the video of what happened. I'm so sorry." I smiled. "Don't be sorry. That video is the reason I can afford this dress." She laughed, then caught herself. "You're serious." "Dead serious. That violin was insured for $4.8 million. The check cleared yesterday. This dress is my celebration." Her eyes went wide. Then she smiled, really smiled. "Then I'm going to make you the most beautiful thing you've ever worn." She did. When that dress arrived 2 weeks later, I put it on and stood in front of my bedroom mirror. I looked like the woman I used to be. The woman I forgot I was. The woman who was about to remind the entire world why you never count out Evelyn Rose Harper. 10 days down, 20 to go. Day 15, I booked a flight to New York. First class, JFK. Left at 6 in the morning, had my coffee in a real cup instead of paper, watched Lake Michigan disappear beneath the clouds. Lydia met me at the airport. Saw her before she saw me, standing by baggage claim with a sign that said, "The Queen returns" in bold letters. I hugged her. First real hug I'd had in 2 weeks. She held on longer than usual. "You ready for this?" she asked. Lydia met me at the airport. Saw her before she saw me, standing by baggage claim with a sign that said, "The Queen returns" in bold letters. 10 days down, 20 to go. "You seem different," she said. "I am different." Good different or scary different? I smiled. Both. The car stopped in front of a building on the Upper East Side. Unmarked door, brass handle, the kind of place you'd walk past 1,000 times and never notice. I am different. My late husband set up the account in 2007. The year I retired from the Chicago Symphony. The year I stopped touring. The year everyone assumed I was done. The car stopped in front of a building on the Upper East Side. Unmarked door, brass handle, the kind of place you'd walk past 1,000 times and never notice. I promised. Then I forgot about it for 18 years. We checked in at the desk, showed ID, signed forms. A security guard walked us down a hallway lined with doors that looked like bank vaults. He stopped at number 347, punched in a code. The lock clicked. "Take your time, Miss Harper," he said. Then left us alone. I stood there for a moment, hand on the door, heart hammering. Lydia put her hand on my shoulder. "You want me to go in with you?" "No. I need to do this alone." I opened the door. The room was small, climate-controlled, exactly 62 degrees, humidity locked at 45%. In the center, on a white marble pedestal, sat a black case I hadn't seen in 18 years. I walked toward it, my footsteps echoing, my hands starting to shake. Then I stopped, took a breath, reminded myself who I was. The shaking stopped. I opened the case. The violin was perfect, untouched, like it had been waiting for me to come back. A 1788 Guarneri del Gesù, made by the same man who made Paganini's violin, one of fewer than 200 that still exist. Rarer than my destroyed Guadagnini, more valuable, more history in its wood than most museums. My husband bought it at auction in London for $3.2 million, told me it was my insurance policy, my way out if I ever needed to come back. "You're going to play again someday, Evie," he said. "I don't know when. I don't know why. But when that day comes, you're going to need the best violin in the world. So I'm buying it now." I told him he was crazy, that I was done performing, that I'd never tour again. He just smiled. "Keep it anyway." For me. 3 years later, he was dead. Heart attack. 61 years old, gone in his sleep. I never opened the case after his funeral. Couldn't bear to. It reminded me too much of what I'd lost. He just smiled. "Keep it anyway." For me. I thought about power. I lifted it from the case. The wood was warm, alive, like it had been waiting to breathe again. The smell hit me immediately. Old varnish. Aged spruce. That specific scent that only comes from instruments that have survived centuries. 1788. This violin was older than America, older than the Chicago Symphony, older than every building I'd ever played in. It had outlived empires, wars, revolutions, and it was about to outlive my daughter's betrayal. I found the bow. Carbon fiber. Modern. My husband had it custom made by a master in Paris. Tightened it. Applied rosin. The ritual I'd done 10,000 times. Then I tucked the violin under my chin, positioned my fingers on the strings, felt the muscle memory flood back like I'd never stopped. I played one note, just one, an open A string. The sound filled that small room like a cathedral, rich, pure, perfect. My eyes closed. Tears came, but not sad tears, not broken tears. These were the tears you cry when you remember who you are. I played a scale, then another, then a passage from Vivaldi's Four Seasons, the piece I'd played at my very first audition when I was 23. People were calling it the comeback of the decade, the return of a legend, the concert everyone needed to see. Lydia was standing in the doorway. I didn't know how long she'd been there. She had tears streaming down her face. "Evie," she whispered, "you still have it." I lowered the violin, looked at her. I never lost it. I just forgot where I put it. We stood there in silence, just breathing, just being. Then Lydia asked the question, "What are you going to play at Carnegie Hall?" I smiled, looked down at the Guarneri, at the instrument that survived 237 years just to end up in my hands. Everything they said I was too old to play, everything they said didn't matter anymore, everything they tried to take from me. I placed the violin back in its case, closed the lid, locked it. This violin is going to be the last thing Tamara hears before she realizes she destroyed the wrong woman. We left Christie's 20 minutes later, me carrying a case worth more than most people's houses, Lydia carrying my purse and my past. 15 days down, 15 to go, and now I had the weapon I needed to finish what they started. Day 23. The announcement went live at noon. We stood there in silence, just breathing, just being. 15 days down, 15 to go. By 12:15, it was trending on social media. Day 23. The announcement went live at noon. 15 days down, 15 to go. Lydia handled the press release, sent it to every major outlet in America. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, NPR, Rolling Stone. 2,800 seats. Gone. Like they never existed. They sold out in 6 hours. I was in my hotel room in Manhattan when Lydia called with the news. "We're sold out, Evie. Completely sold out." We could have filled the venue 3 times over. I sat down on the bed, let it sink in. 2,800 people willing to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to hear a 71-year-old woman who hadn't performed publicly in almost 2 decades. The same woman my daughter said nobody wanted to hear anymore. "Did Tamara try to buy a ticket?" I asked. Lydia laughed. "Oh, she tried. Her assistant called 4 times, wanted a comp ticket, said she was family and should get one for free. Carnegie Hall. 1 night only." Evelyn Rose Harper returns to the stage for the first time in 18 years. Benefit concert for the Young Musicians Fund. I told her family pays double. Then I hung up. 3 days before the concert, I got a notification from the box office. 1 ticket sold. Section D, Row M, Seat 47. The last nosebleed seat in the entire venue, furthest from the stage, worst view in the house. Purchased with a credit card under the name Tamara D. Harper. $500 she didn't have. Charged to what I later learned was her last working credit card. The others were maxed out or frozen. She bought it because she had to see. Had to know if I would fail. Had to witness me fall on my face in front of 3,000 people. Or maybe she bought it because some part of her still remembered when she used to be proud of me. Either way, she'd be there, in the worst seat, watching from the cheap section while the world watched me shine. The program was simple. 1 piece, no intermission, no opening act. My own composition, Late Bloom. Written the week jazz was born. The week I held my granddaughter for the first time and realized what unconditional love actually meant. I'd never performed it, never even showed it to anyone. Kept it in a drawer in my music room for 16 years like a secret I wasn't ready to tell. It was 23 minutes long. Complex. Emotional. The kind of piece that required everything you had and then asked for more. Lydia asked me 3 times if I was sure. "Evie, you haven't performed publicly in 18 years. Maybe start with something simpler? Some Vivaldi? Some Bach?" "No, it has to be this." "Why?" "Because they need to hear what a 71-year-old black woman can create when she's not too old, not too tired, not too irrelevant." The night of the concert, I arrived at Carnegie Hall at 6 p.m., 3 hours before showtime. The building was already buzzing. Press, photographers, people lining up outside, hoping for cancellations that wouldn't come. I used the artist entrance, walked through halls I'd walked 100 times, felt the ghosts of every performance I'd ever given there. My dressing room had flowers, dozens of arrangements, from musicians I'd mentored, from conductors I'd worked with, from people who remembered when I mattered. 1 bouquet had no card, just white roses, 53 of them, 1 for every year I'd been playing. I knew who sent them before I counted. Lydia always did have a sense of poetry. I got dressed slowly. Put on the royal purple gown, the one that cost more than Tamara's rent. It fit perfectly, made me look like exactly what I was, royalty they tried to bury. I did my makeup, not too much, just enough to look alive under the lights. Put my hair up, simple, elegant. The way I used to wear it when I commanded stages across the world. The applause started before I was fully visible, built like a wave, like thunder, like the ocean crashing against rocks. 71 years old. Lines on my face that told stories. Gray hair, I'd stopped dyeing 5 years ago. Hands that had played 10,000 concerts. I looked like a woman who'd survived everything they threw at her and came back stronger. At 8:45, there was a knock on my door. "Miss Harper." 15 minutes. I picked up my Guarneri, the 1,788 masterpiece that had waited 237 years to be in this moment. Walked to the wings, heard the crowd settling in. 2,800 people, all of them here for me. I looked through the curtain, saw the orchestra section filled with tuxedos and evening gowns, saw the balconies packed, saw the nosebleed section in the back, and there, in section D, row M, seat 47, I saw her, Tamara, sitting alone, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Our eyes met across 3,000 people and 100 feet of air. She didn't smile, didn't wave, just stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. Maybe she was. The house lights dimmed. The crowd went silent. The stage manager looked at me. "Ready, Miss Harper?" I adjusted my grip on the violin. Felt the weight of it, the history, the power. I was born ready. Then I walked onto that stage like the queen I'd always been. The applause started before I was fully visible, built like a wave, like thunder, like the ocean crashing against rocks. 2,800 people on their feet. For me, the 71-year-old black woman nobody wanted to hear anymore. I stood center stage in that purple gown, looking like royalty they tried to bury. And I smiled. The silence after the applause was holy. I stood center stage, violin tucked under my chin, bow raised, 2,800 people holding their breath. Then I played the first note of Late Bloom. The sound filled Carnegie Hall like water filling a cup, slow, deliberate, perfect. I closed my eyes. Let the muscle memory take over. Let 53 years of practice guide my fingers across strings that had waited 2 centuries for this moment. The piece started soft, almost a whisper, the way all births start, quiet, uncertain, fragile. Then it built, layer by layer, note by note, like watching a flower open in time-lapse. Then I sat in front of the mirror and looked at myself. The piece started soft, almost a whisper, the way all births start, quiet, uncertain, fragile. Then it built, layer by layer, note by note, like watching a flower open in time-lapse. The audience disappeared. The lights disappeared. Everything disappeared except the music and the wood and the 237 years of history vibrating under my fingers. I played the angry section, the part I wrote after Tamara missed Jazz's 5th birthday because she was on tour in Dubai. Sharp, dissonant. All the rage I'd swallowed and never expressed. I played the melody I'd written the week Jazz was born. The week I held her in the hospital and realized my life wasn't over. It was just beginning again in a different form. I played the joy section. The day Jazz got her first violin, the day she played her first scale, the day she looked at me and said, "Grandma, I want to be like you." The tears came, but I didn't stop playing. Let them fall. Let them be part of the performance. This was what 71 looked like. Not irrelevant, not finished, not too old to cry with a violin. This was what survival looked like, what resurrection looked like, what refusing to die looked like. I moved into the final page. The climax. The moment, the entire piece, had been building toward. A high harmonic. 4th position, the kind of note that requires perfect pressure and perfect placement, or it cracks and ruins everything. I positioned my finger, held my breath, drew the bow across the string. The note sang, pure, clear, impossibly high. It floated above the audience like a bird, held, sustained, defied physics and age and every law that said a 71-year-old woman couldn't do this anymore. 5 seconds, 10, 15. Then I played the forgiveness section, softer, sadder, the part where you realize anger is just love with nowhere to go. Then I let it resolve, descended through the scale like coming home, ended on the same note I'd started with. The final chord rang out, then faded, then disappeared into silence, so pure the entire hall stopped breathing. 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nobody moved, nobody coughed, nobody breathed. The final chord rang out, then faded, then disappeared into silence, so pure the entire hall stopped breathing. 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then all 2,800 people rose as one. The applause was apocalyptic, Thunder, waves crashing, the sound of 3,000 hands saying what words couldn't. People were crying, shouting, screaming brava, until the gilded walls echoed with it. The final chord rang out, then faded, then disappeared into silence, so pure the entire hall stopped breathing. I stood there, bow lowered, tears streaming, trying to breathe through the reality of what had just happened. I'd done it, not just survived, not just performed. I'd created something that would outlive all of us. The applause continued. 2 minutes, 3, 5. Then I looked up, way up, to Section D, Row M, Seat 47. Tamara was standing, but she wasn't clapping. Her hands were at her sides. Her face was wet. She was crying the way I'd never allowed myself to cry. The way you cry when you realize you destroyed something you can never get back. Our eyes met across all that distance, all those people, all that space and time and betrayal. I lifted my bow, slowly, deliberately, pointed it straight at her like a sword. Then I smiled, the smallest, coldest, most victorious smile Chicago had ever seen. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just acknowledgement. I see you. I survived you. I won. She covered her face with her hands, turned, pushed her way out of the row, disappeared into the crowd. The applause kept building. The conductor appeared on stage, hugged me, the entire audience still on their feet. Lydia came from the wings. More flowers. A microphone someone tried to hand me for a speech. I waved it away. Didn't need words. The music said everything. I took a bow, deep, graceful. The way I'd bowed 10,000 times across 53 years. But this time was different. This bow belonged to no one but me. Not to the Chicago Symphony, not to my daughter, not to the memory of who I used to be. Just me, Evelyn Rose Harper, 71 years old. Still here, still standing, still relevant. The lights dimmed, the applause thundered. Someone handed me more roses. I walked off that stage carrying flowers and a violin worth more than most houses, and the knowledge that I'd just played the performance of my life at an age when everyone said I was finished. Backstage, my phone was exploding. Messages, calls, interview requests. I ignored all of them except one. A text from Jazz, my granddaughter, the one I'd raised, the one who made it all worth it. Grandma, I'm crying. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I'm so proud to be yours. I sat down in my dressing room, still in that purple gown, still holding my violin, and for the first time in 30 days, I cried. Not sad tears, not angry tears, not broken tears. These were the tears you cry when you remember that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming so undeniably yourself that the people who tried to erase you have no choice but to watch you shine. 30 days. That's all it took. To collect $4.8 million in insurance, to evict them from my theater, to kill the record deal, to walk onto Carnegie Hall's stage and prove that some things don't have expiration dates. Talent doesn't expire. Legacy doesn't expire. Excellence doesn't expire. And Evelyn Rose Harper sure as hell doesn't expire. The end.